I just finished watching the American dub of Jujutsu Kaisen, so the first 47 episodes. And oh my God, that show is amazing. I actually met David Vincent last year in April, which was really cool. He plays Nanami, which is really awesome. And I want to talk about this show. So obviously it's a shonen. It's set with people who are in high school, like Jujutsu Sorcerers, but it's also focusing on the adults. Obviously, Gojo's the most important person in there because he's so powerful. And that's why he had to be sealed for the Shibuya incident in the second season because unfortunately he would have won. So they had to create something to get rid of him so that actually things could happen. And unfortunately, I do think that having such a powerful character does limit the growth that the character can do and the development that he can do, which is why I thought the Hidden Inventory series uh, movie was pretty good because it allowed us to explore how Gojo came into his power, figured out how he can be powerful and all that. That was really cool. Yuji is a very, very interesting character because he eats Sukuna's finger in the first episode, and then he's going to be executed, and then we get 46 more episodes of Yuji basically learning all about jujutsu sorcery and everything. Eventually, he becomes Sukuna because he gets fed 14 more fingers. So he's had 15 fingers. He becomes Sukuna, but he's able to overcome it. And I think that's the greatest thing, is that he's able to overcome being Sukuna. Now, the really cool thing here is the curse spirits. The curses come from negative energy. The curses come from negative energy. And negative energy can come from anything. It can be from a relationship going poorly. It can be from you getting upset. It can be from anger. It can be from anything. And I think that that actually shows some really cool stuff about just the human condition because curses are a thing that we've had in like our mythos for years. And unfortunately, because we've had them in our mythos for years, we're not sure if they're real or not. And in here, in this manga anime, they are real, and because they're real, they have to be dealt with. And it shows that yes, you have to deal with your curses. You have to deal with the bad things in your life in order for you to be happy. And I think that that's something very, very important for just humanity as a whole. Because as we learn to deal with the negative things, better things happen for us. And because better things happen for us, we end up happier. We end up with more things happening. We end up with a lot of different cool things. And the thing here on top of that is we see that you have to fight the curses. Yuji, Gojo, Fujigura, all of them, they're fighting the cursed spirits. They're using cursed energy, yes, to fight the cursed spirits, but they're also not necessarily always using cursed energy. Sometimes they're just using brute strength or the indomitable spirit of humanity. And I think that that's something that we as people should be encouraged to use. So I think the messaging from Jujutsu Kaisen, at least on that, is absolutely wonderful. Because it helps with a lot of really cool stuff in terms of like the human spirit and everything. I also felt like there was a message that you can't just always do things the way they've always been. That felt like it was just throughout the whole thing, especially because when Yuji in the beginning ingests Sukuna's finger, they want to immediately execute him. But at that point, why? Because the rules say you have to execute him because he ingested Sukuna's finger. But Gojo essentially is like, no, keep him alive, and maybe we can use him to defeat Sukuna, and that ends up helping throughout the series. Unfortunately, there are some situations in the Shibuya incident at the end where Yuji is Sukuna, where bad things happen, but Yuji is able to overcome it at the end, and yes, his death sentence does come back. But Gojo throughout this is always encouraging people to not necessarily do things because that's how they've always been done that way. Because it's very important to not do things the way they've always been done. And when you do things the way they've always been done, bad things happen because you're just not thinking properly. You have to critically think. Why are things done this way? Why would I do that? What would I do instead? How do I fix this situation? Oh, I can fix the Sukuna situation by having Yuji eat Sukuna. And then we can see if there's anything. Maybe he has to die at some point, but we have to think about it. which is pretty cool. Now, I thought that was cool. Now, there is one thing that, in terms of the show, I was very upset about, and that was the ending that we have so far with the to be continued. I know that the next season is in production and it should be out soon. It may actually be one of the simulcasts on Crunchyroll. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's coming out this season, like this anime season, which is good. But what I don't like is the fact that I sat down to watch it, and at the end, in episode 47, we get it to be continued. And that's over the season. I've never liked this. I didn't like this when NCIS did it. I didn't like it when Star Trek did it. I like when arcs end during the season they started, especially because this was the entire season, was the Shibuya incident. And I think this did nothing to change my enjoyment of the show. I absolutely loved the show. I just think that they should have gone one more episode to have a little bit more of a closure with Yuji having a death sentence over his head at this point. Because Yuji's having a death sentence over his head is something that needs to be addressed. Is he going to be executed? Is he not? Is he going to find something else? Is Gojo going to stop it? Is Gojo going to get unsealed? Because the last time I saw Gojo, he was about to be eaten by Gato. And yeah, Gojo's sealed. He needs to be unsealed. I am not going to read the manga because reading the manga would mean I wouldn't watch the show. Usually I either read the manga or watch the show. Sometimes I do both, but in this case, no. I'm going to just watch it as a show because I think that's going to give me the best enjoyment of it. Overall, I'd give the first two seasons, well, technically three, because there's the movie in the between. I'd give the first two seasons of Jujutsu Kaisen a 9.5 out of 10. The only really knock is the fact that it ended on a to be continued when I think one more episode, getting us episode 48 earlier, would have definitely helped and allowed us to have a lot better conclusion to the season. And that's really the only issue I had. So yeah, the fights were great. The message was great. Yuji's a cool character. I love Nanami. I met David Vincent. He's a friggin' awesome voice actor. But yeah, absolutely amazing.